Hello, sister leaders. Dr. Karen Hills Pruden here, and I am so excited. This podcast is going to be fire. And I know y'all know I'm just like on 10, but it's okay because I got a sister leader in the house that is worth me being on 10 for. So, Rozlan Luck, welcome to the Sister Leaders community. This is our podcast. This is all about you. We're so excited to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been contemplating this all week. What am I going to say? How am I going to say it? But I'm just going to be me and let you have it. How about that?
Yeah, we don't want you to be nobody but you, and we want to know all your business. So we are excited to have you here. And so let's go ahead and get started because your full bio is posted with this interview, so they can find out how to find you, how to stalk you. But let's talk about you. So I do my little sleuthing. I be looking around on these internet streets and looking at your bio and all that stuff. And so I got questions because I want some answers and I want to hear from you and only you because only you can tell me the best version of your answer for you. And so my first question really has to do with your personal journey and foundation. I kind of have everything in subcategories, and so you have such a powerful personal story. Can you share a pivotal moment that led you to become a life and mindset transformation coach?
Absolutely. So, I'm a domestic violence survivor. So, I kind of hid behind a talent. And that talent was supply chain. I worked in supply chain for over 35 years. And just noticing that it's constantly, can you help me? What do you think? What should I do? How do I handle this kind of situations throughout my career? Not just in my personal life, on my job, wherever I went, it seemed like I was attracting uh, hurt. I was attracting hurt or people that were trying to climb out of something. So about a year ago, I decided, let me think about this. Let me think about how do I be more impactful? How do I help people more? So the impact or the pivotal moment for me was in February of this year. I was let go from my job, and it was I wasn't prepared for that because it was a surprise to me. So it's that moment of what am I going to do? And it's like a light came on for me. And it was like, now is your time to share your voice with more than just the people at your job or in your church. So I decided that this was an opportune moment for me to help women basically, but anybody on a larger scale that needed my voice, that needed my help, that needed to hear my story. So it was at that moment that I almost went into woe is me, but I decided that there's good in everything. So I had to find that silver lining and wrap it into a bow.
I love that. So you said something that got my attention. So, what were some of your biggest mindset shifts you had on your healing journey?
Oh my, nobody wants to hear from you. Um, your voice is one of many with the same story. I had to come to grips with my worth. I had to come to grips with, I knew what I was doing in logistics. I knew I was a guru at moving and packing trucks and moving freight and making sure that this got wherever it needed to be on time. I knew that like the back of my hand. I had done that since the military days. So I knew that. But I didn't realize that you can't beat me telling my story. And you can't tell my story better than me. And my voice is only for certain ears. So my mindset was truly about a self assessment that I had to do. I had to realize that my story had power, not power enough to uh, move mountains, so to speak, but it was a power enough to move you, or power enough to move the next sister to action, from a place of darkness. And I had to realize that, um, in me, before I can understand that it was for other women as well.
That is powerful. So when we think about healing, it's not always pretty. It can be kind of messy and non-linear. So we know you are a faith woman. So how did your faith sustain you through your process of rebuilding?
And I'm going to be totally transparent. In the beginning, um, there was a struggle, because what I was taught early in life is, if you've got God, you don't need anything else. You don't need counseling. You don't need all those things. You just go to God, you give it to God, and God will fix it. And I still believe that to this day, but I also believe that He gives us wisdom, and He gives us the know-how to know the resources that He's put before us. So that struggle kept me bound, for some time, trying to figure out, how do I maneuver this? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. So I packed it away until you, in the old church, you got to get it for yourself. Can't nobody give it to you. So I had to go deeper into the word, and I had to know for me what that path was. Only through hearing God say, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it, and understanding that and trusting that I heard His voice. So my faith has been a really big factor in this, because who gets fired and starts a new job, a new business, a new venture, newness? Who does that other than what you rely on, your know-how, your education, the things that you know? Who does something? Who goes out on a limb and does something totally out of what they've been doing? A lot of people. And I had to realize that that was the thing, and I had to stand firm on what I believed, and I believe that He is a provider, and that He was going to direct my steps. So it played an immense role in me moving from one season into my next.
And that is a good segue because I want to talk about the power of you. And so the power of you is such a bold and obviously empowering name. What does it mean to you, and what impact does it have on the women you serve?
Again, for me, it was personal, because I didn't believe in that. I didn't believe in me. I didn't believe the power that I had within could help bring someone else to light or out. So that was where the spiritual connection came into reality with what I'm currently doing today. I was actually pondering like three other names, and that wasn't one of them. The power of you was not one of them. And I was talking to my son, um, and we were just talking about the word, and he's battling hearing God's voice. And I said, there's power in you. And I'm telling him, I'm ministering to me through him. And I told him, and I stopped talking, and he said, Mom, are you still there? And I said, I am. I said, I think I just found the name to my business. And God just really dropped it into my spirit, because as I was speaking to him, I was seeing my story unfold, and I was seeing people being healed, and I was hearing voices of women to saying thank you for being transparent. And I was hearing myself tell them, you have such power, you have such grace, you have such worth in you. And that's where the power of you came from. Like I said, never ever an option. In the beginning, I was fighting all these fancy names that I wanted to go with, and that name stood above all else, as a personal testimony of what I've been through, what I still go through sometimes, and what you too can be healed and delivered from.
I love that. And sometimes I think God is so tricky in how he downloads information to us, and it's customized. It's customized for us, and then but the way that he downloaded is always very interesting for me, and I'm glad that he downloaded that to you as you were talking to your son. And so, sticking to the power of you, why do you believe so many women struggle with things such as self-abandonment, and how does your work help them reclaim their personal power?
So I think we have been taught, starting at a young age, that we have to be strong and we have to fight hard if we want to build uh, a career, if we want to build a name for ourselves, if we want to be at the top, we've got to fight extra hard as women, period. Specifically Black women, but there are a couple of strikes against us, but women as a whole, we've always had to fight to in a lot of these areas because it's a man's world, or so they thought. And we've always had to fight a little bit harder. So I think that the power of you gives back that power seat, um, because we never lost it. We've always had it. We just had to maneuver it a little bit different than the male species. We've always had to have a little trick up our sleeve to be bigger, to be better than the next candidate. So I think the power of you empowers you to believe in you, to stand on what you know, and don't cower, don't back down. Use your voice and speak up. And a lot of us have a lot of ideas, but sometimes in a crowded place, you got to speak a little louder. You got to, you don't have to be flashy or be, you just got to speak up in a lot of situations. And I think that we mistake that for showboating. And that's not the case. When you know what you know, then all you have to do is speak up, stand up tall and speak up. And that's what the power of you does. It teaches you how to reclaim your voice, set healthy boundaries, and just to uh, walk in the power that you possess within.
I love that. And I tell you, you're right down the alley when, because I hate when, I work with a lot of women leaders and they're so humble and they're so quiet and they're so meek and they don't want to say this or come across as boasting, and I just all of that, which I just hate.
Yeah.
Because if you know any male leaders, you know everything they did all the way back to kindergarten,
Okay.
so they don't have a problem with it. But sometimes I gender too. But I do want to go back to the power seat that you briefly touched about. I don't want you to give away all your nuggets or whatever, but I am interested in knowing what are the core pillars and how do they foster inner transformation.
So we talk a lot about your voice. We talk a lot about the empowerment of one sister to another. We talk about inner strength. We talk about two, three. We talk about the ability to know your worth and the ability to show your worth. They are the cornerstone of what I believe a strong woman or person, but specifically a strong woman, has to offer to her children, to her community, and to her family, and to her friends. So we talk about how building that foundation of self assessment, starting with self assessment and building that foundation off of that. And whatever you believe in, I'm a Jesus girl. So I believe in God. So that is my strength. That is my center, my core. So I build everything out around that. So finding that for you and building off of that, and not building so wide that you can't handle it. So we want to build up. So we want those pillars to build up in every area of our life. And that makes us strong, for a strong foundation. And then when we build that strong foundation, it's up from there. We deal with so many different things as women: motherhood, uh, childbirth, so many different things, abuse, trauma, things that we bury, things that we pack away. So, what the pillars do is they teach you how to unpack that luggage. And I often use the analogy of us flying or going on a trip. Well, you always pack a bag. Most of us pack way too much, but we always pack a bag. When you get back, that bag doesn't unpack itself. But a lot of times when we deal with so many different things and avenues, we don't have time to be vulnerable. So we pack that away in that suitcase and we never unpack it. So, what the pillars do is they teach you how to break those layers down, unpack that bag by compartment, and wash that dirty laundry and strengthening yourself while you're doing it.
I love that. And before we move away from that, I did have one more question that kind of to me encompasses the change or the rebirth. And so, how do you help clients move from trauma to transformation while honoring both their pain and their potential?
So the very first thing is you have to bubble it up. You have to understand all of it. So we got to get to the root of the enemy. And the root is way deeper than well, my husband abused me. That's not the root of it. That's not the cause of your trauma. So go deeper. So continuing to ask that why. So we find the root of the demon and we pluck it up. And then once we get it all out on the table, we talk through it, break it down, and just chunk it step by step. The transformation starts to happen when you can have that conversation about it and you don't just fall apart when you're talking about it. And the way I knew that was I was talking to a friend of mine and she was really going through it. Nobody ever knew that I was a survivor. So I started to tell my story. And I got through that story without completely breaking down. And I said, wait a minute, I might be on to something here. So as you bubble that thing up and as you unpack that bag and get to the root of things, you then see where your strength comes from. Because I'm telling you now, I survived it. I didn't die. I wasn't hospitalized. I'm not brain damaged. So many things could have happened in that situation. So when you see how blessed you are in spite of, it starts to give you a turning point. For me, that transformation was realizing that my sons approached me and they remembered everything that happened. They were very young and they remembered everything that happened. So now I have to deal with that because I have to show them how to deal with that pain and that hurt that they've been housing because they didn't want me to know what they were dealing with. So that transformation comes through many different avenues, but it all begins with plucking that root up, understanding what that root is and not being ashamed, dealing with the shame that you did something wrong or you're not worthy of where you're headed.
Oh, I like that. You're not worthy of where you're headed because that infers that where you're headed is going to be awesome, greater than you can imagine, greater than you think. Oh, I love that. That just gave me chills when you said that. So I kind of have everything categorized here, and so this is my section I call boundaries, healing, and identity. So my first question is, what are some practical signs that someone is ready to move from surviving to thriving?
Let me go back to where I said when you can tell your story without shame and without holding your head down. Because I would sometimes tell my story and my voice would go a little bit lower so nobody around could hear because I'm just talking to you. But now I take to stages and I tell my story, and not that I'm proud of it, but I'm proud that I get to help you along the way. So I think that we have to just be remain transparent, be open, and continue to forge forward and what we know. because hard is hard. Life is hard. Situations get hard, but you got to learn how to push through the hard to get to the victory that you desire. And understanding that your story could save a life. Your story could help the next sister out of a bad situation. And if you're quiet, just imagine the number of people that are suffering in silence because you choose to keep your story under wraps.
Absolutely. So I had mentioned that this section is called Boundaries, Healing, and Identity. And so, how do you teach clients to build and enforce boundaries?
That's a big one, because we set them and we think that a boundary is the same as a wall, and they're two totally different things. So I had a lot of walls built up, which means that I wasn't saying no. I just wasn't putting myself in a situation where for you to ask. So now, and that keeps me from having to tell you no. So now I understand the power of no, and that it's okay for me to say no. A healthy boundary means that I take care of me first, because if I'm not 100%, I'm only giving you a portion of what I have to give. And I got some pretty powerful stuff to give you. So if I'm giving it to you on 20%, you're not, I'm doing a disservice. So I teach that boundaries are necessities, they're non negotiable, and you have to stand firm on your boundaries. So when we set a boundary, what does a boundary look like? Again, it's not a wall, it's not closing yourself off so no one gets to ask you anything. It's making yourself available, but having the power to say, I just don't have time to do that. Or here's what we're going to do. These are my hours. I'm really sorry, but you have to call within these hours. Now, if it's an emergency, there's nothing I can do about that. Here are some resources. So we just have to have the knowledge, to know how to set healthy boundaries, but we also have to have the stick to itness. That's a racism. The stick to itness to stand firm on what we say, stand firm on the boundaries that we set. And it's okay to not be available 100% of the time. So I teach them how to effectively say no. And it doesn't, you don't have to be nasty with that. You can always give information that you have to help them in another route where you're not the one that's giving the help or doing the job.
Interesting. Interesting. So, what role does forgiveness, both maybe of ourselves and others, play in, you know, the confidence building and the purpose activation that is required for this change that you're talking about, this power, activating this power?
Forgiveness is major because you stay stuck otherwise. And we realize that this word has become so big in a lot of communities, and that's trigger. And I'm not saying that it's not a thing, but triggered is sometimes a scapegoat. So when we feel that way, we go away from it instead of dealing with it, because I feel myself bubbling up. So if I don't forgive a situation, I still carry it. Now, that doesn't mean I forgot about it. When I forgive you or forgive the next person for a wrong that they've committed towards me, I'm first going to talk about it. I'm going to let you know that this has offended me. This is what you did to me when you did that. And sometimes you don't get those opportunities, but still speak it out loud. But forgiveness is huge. And I forgive you is probably three of the hardest words to say when you have been traumatized, when you have been abused, when you have been really taken through the ringer. But you have to remember that forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is something that frees you. And when you're free, you're more apt to blossom. And we have to understand that. And that has to be, that's probably one of the biggest parts of my teaching, my training, my coaching is learning how to first forgive yourself for what you think is allowing somebody to do this to you. And secondly, forgiving that person for not being strong enough to know that you are hurting me to the point of no return. So forgiveness is huge. It's a major part of everything that we do, um, on every level. It doesn't have to be traumatic. It could be you crossed me as a sister, and now I forgive you. I know you meant to do it, but I forgive you because now you got to deal with that demon. And we have to understand that that's something that we have to release, because I can't control how you act. I can't control you, what you do, but I can control how I respond. And my response is that I forgive you. I will never work with you again, but I absolutely forgive you for the things that you've done.
Girl, you stepping on my foot there because the whole forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. Oh my goodness. I believe it. I believe it. I know it's true, but it's so hard when you're at that point where you're trying to muster up that forgiveness. But I love how you put that. I came across a saying that you say, confidence is your birthright. So what does that look like in action?
Confidence for me was hard because I'm the youngest of seven. So I was always told what to do. You're gonna do this. So okay, 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 right? So for me, it was just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I knew I'm gonna do it well, but I wasn't confident enough to say, well, no, I think we should do this. So confidence is, let's say it's a picture of health, right? When you are absolutely healthy, your skin glows, your hair grows, you just feel. That's what confidence is. Confidence is you at the top of your game, just glowing and feeling like, listen, if you know that you know that you know, it's okay to walk in it. Confidence and arrogance go hand in hand. Yes, you can be confident and not be obnoxious. I have watched some of your earlier recordings, and I see confidence exude from you. It's because that you are sure that you know what you're talking about. And that's a picture of health. That's a picture of confidence. No matter what's inside, no matter the butterflies that are fluttering around, when you stand up straight and you speak and you use your voice, and I can say to you that I may not know everything, but this I know. So confidence is, to me, is a healthy glow, a healthy lifestyle. It's a steady voice, a voice with volume, and that's how you should show up every day.
I love that. And it doesn't mean that, when I hear you talk and define it, what the way that you define confidence, it still doesn't mean that you aren't fearful.
No.
It doesn't, but in spite of fear, you continue to move on, you present. So it's, in spite of what you may be feeling, the butterflies, in spite
Mhm.
of a little bit of twinge of self-doubt,
Mhm.
that you're saying, yep, all of that. Now go ahead.
Let's
You
go
know,
do it.
yeah, go ahead and do it. So I love that. And so as we close my kind of my closing group of questions, I have a few of them. I won't be able to get to all of them. Is just talking about your awesome speaking and mentorship, you know, path, I'll say pathway. And so, because you've spoken on some powerful stages like the Business Brilliance Conference and Late Show. So, what's one message you always make sure to leave with your audience?
I think that we as female have enough on our plates and enough opposition from other areas to deal with than to get it from ourselves. So be your biggest critic, but also be your biggest cheerleader. Open up yourself to be transparent in what you do and how you do it, and walk this thing out one step at a time in your best light for your most healthy, uh, confident way, and just do it. For lack of better terms, just do it. Fear, don't allow fear to cripple your present and paralyze your future. Don't allow it to do that to you. It is There's so much we as women have to offer, so many avenues we can take a life down. We raise them, we nurture, we do so many different things. So whether you're a mom or not, it's internal. That's the internal. So why not internalize that nurture and that growth for yourself, and grow yourself and blossom yourself into the best you could possibly be.
I totally agree. So let's talk about mentorship. So one of your mentors is speaking on this platform as well, but this is all about you. So we're not going to say his name because he had his podcast interview. But what I will ask you is, how has mentorship shaped your leadership and growth?
Mentorship is huge for me. I take notes from a lot of different areas, but when I have a mentor, I am very intentional about asking the right questions for me as it relates to me. We can have a whole master class, but something does not work for me. I want to hone in on that part, because you don't know if you don't ask. So, what's the purpose of having someone that you trust, that you know, mentor you, and you not soak up everything you can possibly soak up from the experience? Mentorship for me is huge. I also have a couple of mentees under me, where I go to church, and I love that dynamic. I love that it is helping someone else to formulate. So for me, it has been key. Number one, for me, finding my voice. Number two, for speaking, telling my story. So the mentor you spoke of is really big on that. And I just love how he tells his story with such ease, and he grabs you from the very beginning. So that has been big for me, and just being transparent and open enough to share enough to um, make you see you in my story.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's talk about legacy because we're closing out here. So, what legacy do you hope to leave your children, grandchildren, and the women who hear your voice?
Power, the power of you. And I want everyone, especially my kids. Now, I house four boys and a girl. My girl is the most confident of all of them. So, but there are some things in there that we have to work through as well. But I want my boys to be good men to women, and I want them to um, understand the power of you for women, and understand what that means when you help a woman along the way, and when you help a woman nurture, or move herself into her own voice, to use her own voice. So for them, I leave confidence, I pray. I leave stability, and I leave, for my grandchildren, a wealth of knowledge that I had to learn through the mud, and I want them to be able to pull it off of a shelf. I don't want the struggle for my children and my children's children to be what it was for me. I want them to have the information readily available, that they can do and show up however it is that they wish to do, and just walk in the light that God has so graciously laid out for them to walk through.
Well, this has been an awesome, awesome interview. And so my closing question, because I'm gonna have to wrap it up. So I'm pulling myself in. I'm pulling myself in because I got so much more that I want to ask because I just love everything that you're talking about. But what's next for the Power of You movement? Because it is a movement. And how can our listeners connect with your work or join your coaching circles?
So right now I am in the process of writing my second book. I do have a book on shelves. She Carries Glory, and it just talks about how you recognize what you carry, recognize your power, and how to bring that forth. So I'm working on my second book. You can reach me through www.rozlanluck.com, at rozlanluck.com, www.rozlanluck.com. Yes. And
Okay.
then, yeah, so many things. And I am at Rozlan Luck on the social media platforms. Um, Through my coaching circle is through my website. You can reach me and it tells you everything that I offer through that. I'm so super excited to be doing this work, and to be able to invite women into my community, and just to love on you, and just to show you that you're worth all the love that you will receive.
And there you have it. So I am so excited. This has been a powerful, powerful, powerful podcast. So I would encourage everybody to catch it on the replay. I'm going to catch it on the replay so that I can catch all those, because I was taking a few notes as well. So because I want to know more about the coaching circles and the Power of You movement. But this has been wonderful. But I will be remiss if I did not mention that Rozlan and all of her goodness is going to be hitting the stage at the Sister Leaders Conference October 3rd and 4th at the Rivers Casino this year. Yes, we are going back to the casino. We are having a ball with powerful leaders such as Rozlan, and I have a gang of other people. You know how I roll, and you know all of them have their receipts. We don't have no Instagram famous people up here that don't have no receipts. Everybody has their receipts. This year, our theme is her vision, her voice, her victory. I am excited, so I would encourage you to follow the Sister Leaders community if you're not following the Sister Leaders community, and definitely come join us on October 3rd and 4th. The conference website is Sister Leaders with an S conference.com, so that you can hear Rozlan again and all the other speakers who are going to be pouring into women leaders. And so that is all I have today. I am excited. Rozlan, thank you so much for sharing your talents and your story and your community with the Sister Leaders community. And so we're going to say good night, good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you are looking at this from. Bye.